Ladies and gentlemen, it is time for us to have a conversation over here about Ching Zho. Because I've been seeing a lot of discourse, I've been seeing a lot of dialogue surrounding the fact that people are probably going to be skipping this unit en masse. And I think a lot of people are beginning to understand why those takes are starting to formulate. Because she is another arrow DPS character in a game where, I'm going to be honest, we have a lot of arrow DPSs already. And this one is slated to be, I think, the third on the roster who's also been, well, a very, very, very high performer. So let's just go ahead and take a look at kind of like some of the background over here for why I'm even making this video in the first place. And that's mainly because of this. You have Sigrika. Sigrika is one of the best DPS characters in the game, and she was released in Wuthering Waves version 3.2. And I think a lot of people can tell immediately, based off of her actual placement on the tier list, she is, bar none, top 1 or 2 units in the game. That's what I legitimately think. Because what is she? Tier 0 in Whimpering Wastes. Or, sorry, this is tier 0 in Whimpering Wastes, and then tier 0 in the TOA. Yang Yang is like cosmetically tier 0 here. I don't think she really counts. She effectively, to me, is one of the only DPS characters that's a top performer in both endgame modes. And I would give her that title with Hiyuki because, well, these characters dominate the endgame modes in just their regular ass teams, right? You just stick Sigrika with a Chuyan over here and you're basically having a good time in any of the content you could possibly have in the game. And that's the thing. Right? That's sort of like the situation, and that's sort of like the landscape of where this character is releasing. You already have an arrow unit in the game that, A, doesn't compete with teammates, so you're not like sharing popular units like Mornier or Denya. You have that situation, right? And that's pretty big too. Because who else is using Chuyan? For Lovo, maybe, right? But not to the level of how shared this unit is going to be. Because who else uses her? Luke Herson, as well as iMyth in Fusion Burst Mode. And who's going to be the other unit for Toon Strain Qingxiao that's going to be her third slot? Mornier the support. Are you going to take this Mornier away from your Mono Fusion team? You're going to take this Mornier away from your current Luke Herson team? Are you going to take this Mornier away from your iMyth team? Or your Linné team? Because who does Sigrika use instead? Shorekeeper. She uses Shorekeeper instead, or this is also a very viable team, just so people know it. Arrow Rover plus Sigrika and Chuyan is also one of the stronger teams in the game. It's an incredibly strong team as well. And this is actually one that I've used really often. Yeah, just sticking Chuyan on this team with Sigrika, and then it destroys a bunch of the content too. And then, of course, in Whimpering Waste, you even got Chakona as well. What's the big sort of identifier of all of the supports and all of the teammates that I listed out for Sigrika? They don't really interact, or take resources away from other top teams. But that's what this unit is going to do by simply being a Toon Strain character that wants Denya and Mornier. Pulling her can effectively make the other units on your account actually harder to use because she's going to take up the resources that they were using before just to do the simple task of dealing arrow damage. When this character is able to do it without stepping on anybody else's toes. But do you want to know who else also does this? Who also does a good amount of arrow damage without necessarily breaking other teams by taking away their resources? The other arrow sword character, Kartithia. The other arrow sword character, Kartithia, can just do that as well. And chances are, guys, you probably have her because she's a Sentinel Resonator and one of the main push units of the 2.x arc. So people are probably going to have her on average. And what does Kartithia also have the benefit of? She also has teammates that nobody else really wants that much nowadays, right? You can spare Arrow Rover or Rover's team slot for her. And of course, right, you have the Chakona situation where she's not really wanted anywhere else either. You are basically being told to, with the release of this character, a Toon Strain DPS that's going to utilize Denya and Mornier, some of the most popular units in the game, you're being asked to pull this unit when she effectively, like, I don't really know, like, how she necessarily benefits your account a lot unless you're straight up a completely new player. I don't see how she benefits you very much at all unless you like straight up started the game in like 3.5 or you like started the game in 3.4 and you're like looking for a Toon Strain character or something like that and you like don't have Luke Herson. And you also need to, like, not have any arrow units. There's such a small subsection of the population that's actually going to, like, want to pull this character. And I think in a lot of places, she could be, like, an actual... It could be better to just not pull her, save the resources, and get something else instead. That's what it feels like. And I feel like that is meant to be sort of like the pulling situation for 90% of people. Because if you have Sigrika... You don't want to get fucking close to this unit. If you have Cardathea, you don't want to even get close to this unit. And how much of the population is actually going to comfortably fit into that area where they neither have Cart, nor do they have Sigrika? And this is something I didn't even mention before, but I might as well mention it now. Bro, just saying, Yuno also gets the job done too, as like an arrow DPS, because she's really strong with Linné. Like, she's really strong with Linné and Mornier in the TOA. And yes, she's dog shit in Whimpering Ways. That's very fair to say. But she also easily covers your arrow DPS needs up in two of the endgame modes. End state and TOA. So that's like another thing too. And I think the only situation is this. You skip Cardathea. You skipped Luke Herson. You also skip Sigrika, but somehow you have Denya and Mornier while skipping all of those other fucking units, which is like kind of unreal once you think about it. And then maybe Qingxiao becomes like a must pull for you. But that requires you not to have Cart, you don't have Sigrika, and you have Denya and you have Mornier. It's a very small number of players that she fits the bill for, but if she does fit the bill for you, then she fits the bill for you. There's not too much more I can really say about that one. But I think that is what part of the reason for why there's kind of like a lessening of hype, I would say, for this unit, the other unit in the patch, and kind of just like the new characters as a whole for version 3.6. Because who's on the other half of the banner? Jing Ran, a male HP scaling heavy attacker that like naturally is not going to be very popular with a lot of people because he's also a fusion character and most people have Imyth, right? Jing Ran is going to be a fusion character and, well, who does everybody have? Everybody has her. I don't think there's like people that skipped Imyth, right? I don't think people skipped Imyth. And plus, Jing Ran doesn't even have the opportunity to pull his teammate. Because guess what? Right? The nice part about Qingxiao's release is that if you have saved up, you can get Denya, who's going to be your best in slot partner as a Toon Strain sub DPS, right? That's 100%. But you kind of, you know, we've already talked about the issues with this part of the banner. But then the Jing Ran, bro, this guy's like running with like fucking Hiyuki and Mornier, bro. So it's like, you can't even, like, build his team either. And he's also a fusion character that... And Imyth is also on banner right now. Yeah, I forgot to mention that. Yeah, Imyth is also on banner right now, too. Do you see how this is possibly the most skippable update in Wuthering Waves history for a lot of people in a lot of ways? There are so many accounts that can just not interact with the banners in this update and, like, nothing changes for them. Nothing changes for them at all. Because that's kind of like what this patch is shaping up to be. I think it is the most skippable patch in Wuwa history, unless you are a new player. Because that is one of the only benefits I can see over here, is you being a new player, and as a result, you are able to just straight up build the entire Qingxiao team in the update. Where you get her, the DPS, then you get her, the sub DPS, and then of course, you get, yeah, then you get the support. Then you get the support. And I think that's the only situation where somebody, like, actually pulls on anything in this update, because it's kind of just, like, all reruns, or it's all more DPSs of an attribute that most people are likely to have. Because you're gonna expect high ownership of the fucking Sentinel units in this game, bro. Because Imyth, she the Sentinel unit. So is Cardathea. And this is Arrow. And this is Fusion. So what do you think is going to happen in an update where they're debuting a new Arrow and a new Fusion unit? Probably not very good for the sales because you're competing with this level of popularity. And guys, this is how I know the sales are likely going to be fucked. Meta doesn't matter. This unit has some of the lowest sales in the game, but like I said before, she's a top 2 character. Top 2 strongest DPS in the game, but her sales are actually awful. The meta doesn't matter here. It doesn't matter how strong the unit is. Everyone still skips her even though she's one of the best characters in the fucking game. And so it doesn't matter how strong Jing Ran or Qing Zho are. Wuthering Waves have somehow kind of countered the whole it is really become the embodiment of waifu over meta. Because even when they release a broken fucking unit like this, she still doesn't sell. Because guess what people were doing on this character's banner? They said, I already have Cardathea. She's doing fine on the arrow damage. I'm going to skip her and save up for Hiyuki. Because she was the patch right before the anniversary. So what do you think is going to be happening over here as people head into the Qing Zho and the Jing Ran banners? When you have Imith and when you have Cardathea. Who do you think, guys, everybody is saving up for? Oh, right. Oh, right. It's this bitch. Right, you're saving up for this bitch, who's probably 1000% being released next patch. And this is where we get into the final sort of takeaway for this video, ladies and gentlemen. I think that Kuro Games is gifting us. This is actually meant to be somewhat similar to the Sigrika patch, pull-wise. They're probably gifting us another skip patch, where if you skip Sigrika, your account really didn't suffer at all because you probably still had cart and you were fine. And I feel like skipping Qing Zho and skipping Jing Ran completely, that's actually meant to be something that people do. Because I don't know why else they would choose these 2 particular characters who directly conflict with the Sentinels, both as DPSs, for this release. Right before another Sentinel banner. Why would they do that? Probably because they're telling you, yeah, you could just skip and save for this upcoming update. And I've given you all the reasons for why you should probably actually, well, honestly, do that. So yeah, this is a bit of a PSA for the average player over here and the average pulling tendencies, because I think it's pretty clear by now. You're not really going to get a lot of stuff out of these banners if you're a bit more on the veteran side of things. Let me know what you all thought. Peace out.